Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Myst IV Revelation. Let's see what resume does. I imagine it will probably... Nope, it won't work because I exited out, so good thing I saved. And so we can load. Which that definitely highlights a problem, certainly, with the idea of these early implementations of save and reload and resume and auto-saving. So, inherently, the tutorial tells me to go to Haven. I don't know which one's Haven. So, like, the books aren't, like, really labeled. You just have a blue book and a red book, and I would have had to gone back up to the room and read the description. And in the description, we do know that one of the prison worlds was made before the other, but almost certainly either there's a key in this world that needs to unlock a lock in this world, and vice versa, a key in this world that unlocks a lock in this world, or very possibly this is a completely separate world to this world, and both of them will get us maybe one blue page, one red page, and we are just back to Myst 1 on that to allow them to potentially escape. Obviously, Atris has added some level of linking book into these worlds. Otherwise, his plans to potentially free them wouldn't really make any sense, or at least you hope he's done that already. So what this really leaves you with is basic old school video game design. The path on the left tends to be the main story. The path on the right tends to be the side quest. Let's do the side quest. That's quite an interesting intro and fly around. This is Haven. So that was the one that the walkthrough wanted me to go through. Just, it was a 50-50 guess. This doesn't quite feel like Myst though, because Myst is more of a fly around that's a bit quicker, and the music usually is playing in the background, and you're usually not so tinily so close to the water and the surface. Now, I'm fairly certain at some point they did say that there was a system where you could rewrite the ages, and by rewriting the ages, you could change the way the world is. And so I assume that Atris just wrote this prison cell in. So here you can see there is a thing to pass things through here. And inside that we see a bag with the memory. And we can see we are chasing after Yisha here, so we went the right way, which that might be a limiting factor. That just set off a siren. And here we can see some form of either water spirits or crystals. What's funny here is I don't think what we're going to run into is a situation where both of the brothers are going to be evil. I wouldn't be surprised if we run into a situation where neither of the brothers are evil and there's another evil force. But yeah, this would be the general idea. You see this electricity flowing through here, so it might have been electrified bars. and you could have teleported here. And so there's multiple layers of security that they really did not want them to be able to escape, although it kind of seems fairly strange, some of the technologies compared to just like modern day technology. And in here you have a linking book that we can open, which takes you back to Tamana. Now in this case, I don't think you are going to ever end up on Myst Island. Notably, no real security around it, other than it's just in this locked room, once locked room, and no real... Interesting. Yeah, so this is how you would pass things through. No real security on it, no way to really prevent anybody from getting to it if they could just get past this wall. So you would have to assume that Atris thought that this was a world that was livable, but not particularly flush with resources to a point where the prisoner, any prisoner, because remember, he created these prison worlds for anybody, not just his kids. His kids arguably should be somewhat inept and stupid. They can, like, the brothers never show any aptitude for writing their own linking books or descriptive books. They don't have the crystals and the magic ink needed to do that. But also, you really don't see any indication that they're taught just like basic science. But obviously somebody figured out that these crystals could cause an explosion. It is probably not 100% coincidental also that this dome in this prison is fairly reminiscent of what the grandfather did in Rhyme, imprisoning people. Like, the grandfather here is not really his influence, and his attitude on Atris is obviously affected him in his way of thinking somewhat, but I don't know if it's really wrong either. So we've got a little crab here we can click on, and I don't know if that really did anything at all. Like, I think there very possibly is a lie here around the idea of potentially having to interact with animals when that's not really the focus, I think, in this game. And yeah, it doesn't seem like you're gonna just walk on the edges of this bamboo, or for lack of a better descriptor, this plant-based bridge. There may be a boat or a device that slides on this, or the plant itself may bloom, and so we may have to make it bloom. Arguably, if you were to modern remake this, you would do the same thing that this game is really doing. It's locking you into only a few directions that you can go, but a more modern open world movement would almost certainly have players trying to jump over ledges, and you just have to create a whole bunch of invisible walls to lock them into that, or you would have to create a different experience altogether in more of an open world. And that's something The Witness, I think, did fairly well, is that it did create this open world where you can walk around anywhere you want to go and solve puzzles in pretty much any order you want to do it. in, instead of limiting you to narrow paths like this old game. Well, there is something here. Hmm. So there you see the brothers fighting, so they're not just on the same side. And honestly, I would half suspect that the crazier one is the crazy looking one is the one that this is a real nice color effect on the background. I'd have to suspect that he is actually the good guy, because that would be the general assumption, is that the crazy one is the bad guy, and that the calm, cold, calculating one is the good guy. You kind of need an overworld map, and you're not getting it. So either there's something I've missed here, or I am just supposed to have come this far to turn around and leave, and that doesn't feel right either. It is very odd that if you look at this from kind of a historical perspective, Cyan as a company very much could have been the company known for creating worlds and interesting environments and entire cultures and stories. Oh, there's another tunnel here I missed. Yep. And here we have a pre-rendered transition, which looks better than the actual game, which I guess that's okay, although you probably would want to just keep them somewhat equal. But it is somewhat a shame that of all the game companies to really be known for making worlds, Bethesda with the Elder Scrolls and Skyrim series is best known for creating and writing those worlds, because the actual gameplay that Bethesda offers is fairly generic, and almost everything they do is procedurally generated. And Myst would definitely not work if it was a procedurally generated world, at least in the old days. Maybe you could do procedural generation now. You can see somebody's drawn a big monster breaking the ship, which I suspect there actually isn't a monster, or never was, because Atros said he created this whole world to have that broken ship concept originally. In a lot of ways, the broken ship. What was that? The broken ship concept is, there's some kind of animal there, is almost a reflection of punishment and disappointment in his children, because although again this was not a prison world specifically designed for his kids, it's ironic. Like, in Myst you have a ship that's not broken, and in one of the other ages you have a ship that is sunken. So perhaps it more is a case that the ideas of wooden ships are simply always on the mind of Atros when he creates descriptive worlds, descriptive books, and creates worlds. Which is another great argument to say, reboot the Myst series and set it 1,000 years in the future, where there have been a lot more people making a lot more ages with a lot different sentimentalities and ways of thinking. Let's see. This is probably an important thing. There definitely is a danger here.
Premeditation. Stealth. Patience. Can't forget his patience.
That sounds like a monster for real. Interesting. Notice how it kind of gets thinner as I look upward and then thicker as I scroll down. The way it's rendering. That's a little off. Oh, I guess there was a monster and it looks like he killed it. Like, obviously these people have to eat, so he made these worlds so you could get fruit or meat from them. I don't think he intended for people to potentially hunt a giant beast. It sounds cruel to hunt something, and arguably I'd say it is not doing the best job of using the whole carcass to just leave it here so that its bones are not being used. But it is very possible that this person hunted this beast for his meat and carved off as much meat as they could, and it was just too heavy. It's a little surprising you wouldn't take the teeth and the rib cages, and those would make for decent carving tools and weapons to hunt in the future, if you want to hunt something else. But a lot of these other bones, unless you can grind them up for calcium, and you're really desperate for calcium, have little use. Let's see, here we have the crabs eating a fish, or devouring a fish, which these little crabs slash lobsters look too much like lobsters, and the fish look too much like fish. While Earth is in the list of the different ages that exist, if not actually the original world that predates any of the other ages, we've never really had a lot of focus on regular looking creatures. That being said, there was definitely crabs in the previous game made by Presto Software, so they're just reusing that concept. These worlds are definitely not like manna from heaven type of worlds, though. You definitely see not a lot of greenery, nothing just falling from the sky to eat. It doesn't feel like there's a ton of fish in the ocean, although it'd be hard to tell. There's obviously some. We're seeing these birds fly around and then dive down and grab birds. Or grab fish. The birds are grabbing fish. Here we have a cannonball, which seems to me like we're looking to add some counterweight to something. So that's probably what we need to do. Is just add the maximum amount of counterweights at the moment. And then let's see if there's any kind of release. Nope. In the past we have definitely had puzzles around finding the exact weight, and that can be fairly frustrating. And there you can see a cannon, but no dry gunpowder, I would assume. If you could make gunpowder, which you might have been able to with the different minerals of this world, you could have potentially just fired a cannon directly at the gate to try and break your way in, and maybe that's exactly what did happen, and it wasn't so much the crystals. Of course, that's a fairly huge oversight on part of Atris if he's gonna leave a cannon on the ship. If anything, I suspect when you write a descriptive book, you're not writing as much as it would seem. Okay. So we may need to hold the elevator down later. The rest of the ship we may not actually access. It doesn't really seem like there's too much there anyways. Right. Okay. It's slightly interesting that the game has opted to not give us any visions. Let's go and take 2 of these out and then try again. We'll just try it in halves. A lot of different combinations. Okay. So if that can carry 2, can it take all of this up with us? I guess the first step here is just to get it to work. And then the second step would be to determine if we actually do need to move cannonballs for any other puzzle. Notice how the shadowing and shading is completely different compared to the dynamic lighting you would expect. So I do need to get some of this up higher. My assumption is See, this will bring down a bridge, I bet, to raise this up to cross. Okay. I don't think there's anything else to do. Yeah. And you have to walk out to see. We'll try it with 2 on 2, but I suspect that's still going to be too heavy. We don't know if 2 is even the right number that's needed. Yep, that's not going to work. So we'll throw another one in. I wonder if there might have been a trick to roll this up and find something behind that. Or under it. There might be. This is a kind of great example of a somewhat simplistic puzzle that definitely has the opportunities to be very confusing. There's a lot of opportunities to not see all the different elements. Unlike a modern game, you don't have things that are color paletted in such a way that it's obvious whether an object is interactable or whether it's important. You're not going to have a big picture, a big arrow pointing you towards the location or anything like that. You're just going to have to kind of wander around. And you, like I said in the previous recording, in the first recording, these really are games that if you follow a walkthrough or if you figure out everything right on the first try, will be considerably short. And that is probably something that also kills the idea of Myst-like games too much, is because you just have to make so much content. And that's probably what killed the idea of Uru as an MMO, is that they would have had to have constantly tried to make new environments. And it's not just World of Warcraft, let's make a new dungeon, and let's make a new mountain, let's make a new plane stuff. You'd have to make new environments to the level, if not better, of each age you see in the Myst games. Inherently, they just set the bar too high. Even when Myst 1 came out, it set the bar incredibly too high. Each age could have been its own separate, like, DLC or expansions on each age. Certainly could have been its own separate DLC. And see, here you have a great example of a non-earth creature chewing on a fish. And I just tapped his tail there and he decided to go away. So I think that probably does prove at some level you will have to click on certain animals. And who's to say if that was a fire, water, or whatever action, or earth action towards the different ending. Here you can see. What is this? Seems to be kind of a nest. Where these creatures live. In a funny way, that highlights how the thought process may be here is that a ship that was once a man-made thing has now become a nest for animals. Here you have a bunch of rocks. And I believe it was Sirius, the brother, that his world that he had created was this kingdom-like environment with a throne. They both treated the ages like their own little fiefdoms and kingdoms. And this is a corrupted version of that. Here's gold that is useless to you. Here's skeletons of creatures.
Where's the blaster?
You have to also, I think, I don't think the game wants you to think this way, but if you were in jail, imprisoned in a whole different world, in solitary confinement effectively for 20 years, there are going to be memories and scenes of you not acting your best. So if the highly emotional scenes are the scenes that this necklace shows you, assuming that the necklace is even showing you the truth, that doesn't really mean that much. And again, I can't complain about somebody hunting for meat and then reusing the carcasses for other reasons. It's better to do that than to let it just go to waste. And so this may be his journal.
I cannot believe I resisted linking here for so long. Father's warning kept me away. He said Haven was an age of great wealth, but visiting it would be dangerous without him. Lying serpent. Should have known he would say anything to keep Cirrus and me under his control. I despise him. But look, Father. Look who's under whose control now. Stinking rain has not let up much since I arrived. Gets almost too quiet when...
So this would be his journal right after he trapped the father and then ended up going to this prison place.
It does, except for the distant screams of animals. Wonder what exists beyond those cliffs. Too wet to find out tonight, but there should be plenty of time for treasure hunting tomorrow. Judging by the chests in this wreck, I will not be disappointed. Oh, but won't Cirrus be enraged when he sees I got all the emeralds first? Been slashing through the jungle all week and have yet to run
That was a
into
long
any people.
pause.
What did you do, Father? Get them to turn this island into some kind of wild animal park? It would be just like you to convince the stupid idiots to do that. Have to hand it to you, though. The heads on some of these beasts will look really good on my walls.
But yeah, this is a journal from 20 years ago.
Got my first taste of primate today. I was cutting a path through the jungle when one of the stupid buggers clunked me from behind with a piece of fruit. Scared the hell out of me. I whipped around, ready to slice and dice, but it let out this ear-piercing shriek. Must have been a signal to its buddies, because they all took off into their nests. Too bad Mr. Shrieker wasn't fast enough. Man, is it hot. Actually starting to like these infernal thunderstorms. They ruin a good day of hunting, but at least they cool things down for a while. Surprised my greedy brother hasn't shown up yet. He's got to know I skipped out on him in Serenia after we called that little truce. He's insane if he thinks his plan there will work. We should just kill Father and be done with it. Then again, maybe I should link back to Myst and convince Cirrus to set the old man free here in Haven. After all these weeks of practice, my hunting and tracking skills have really improved.
No way, no way, no way. It's got to be here somewhere. Got to be. I searched, searched, and searched. Where's the blasted linking book?
So it took him weeks of just hunting before he even realized there was no linking book.
Together. Come up with a plan. That's what Cirrus would do, wouldn't it? Isn't it? Where the hell is Cirrus?
Sirius is trapped in the other world.
Some place to hole up in. Stop it! Think. The ship. It'll do for now. Till I build something better. Got to be easier to get into, though. Easier. But protected against intruders. Got to protect myself, right? Good. That's good. I'm gonna kill you for this, old man.
Now, the journal's showing a whole trick as far as the elevator, but I'm not sure if it's showing anything new about the elevator. So it may just be a design in this journal that doesn't actually help you, unless there's some trick here as far as a latch that would let you go higher.
I slashed the beast. There was blood spurting everywhere. I need a better spear. Disappeared down the wind tunnel. It was a very successful day today. Mostly Karnax. Figuring out how to use their fishing habits against them was sheer genius. Can't escape. I must...
Wrongful imprisonment. Where is Cirrus?
Past few days, too much blood.
I don't remember killing so many animals. Is something else here? Something big? Second predator hunting me? Why haven't I seen it yet?
It's interesting here that the memory is telling you parts of the journal that are actually washed away.
Blood spurt. Figured it out. Wicked brother.
At least some of it.
Snake tricked me with Cruz. Serenia. Cirrus is trapped too. While machines. He linked to Spire in search of plunder. Spire! Father's other dangerous age. Miserable Camodile. Bloody animal. Nearly ripped my leg off. Pulled vanishing act and... Just wait till hunting post is finished.
So we should look for a hunting post.
Saw some more tracks. Rain washed most of them away. But then I found them. But definitely tracks. Sneaky bastard. Think he waits. And then there was the 5th kill site. Looked fresh. Only was bigger. Smelled me coming and took off. What is this thing? My God, the size. Impossible. Hands still shaking. Didn't expect it.
Didn't expect attack. Didn't realize. Magnificent.
I'm really starting to question whether these ages were supposed to be actual prison plants more than execution ages. Like, either Atreus did a really poor job putting such a giant creature in his age, or didn't investigate or ever see this creature because he did a poor job of actually investigating, or he just really intended for these trap books to eventually just kill anybody who went into it.
Still, see him rearing out of sea, water spilling down gills. Such malice, such death in his eyes. Sun sinking behind, reflection so bright, nearly blinded. Must have planned it that way, must have known. But I'm alive, Sea Spawn. Still alive. And I will defeat you. As death is my witness, I shall decorate my kingdom with your bones.
What's funny is that there's basically an age in Riven where you almost have a prison, perfect prison with kind of padded walls that we've already seen. So it's odd that I guess maybe Atreus couldn't reach that age. That was kind of a hard age to get to, or couldn't describe an age like that, or didn't care to. I think Atreus just really is a little bit more of a jerk than he should be as a character. He's too hardcore, as it were. So that's the first journal of I forget the brother's name, but let's see, you're standing here. You would be standing here. And then you could come over here. And then you can't interact with anything until you're standing over here. There we go. And so you've got a flapping thing, which if you were to take a picture of, would almost certainly just become a static map. And so he's just created a map of different animals.
Checked and checked. No sign of it here, or here, maybe here. What's in the South Jungle?
So we've seen this, we've probably seen this, we haven't seen this, we haven't seen this, and it looks to me like the beast was way up there, and that the South Jungle is probably our indication of, and that's blocked off, so we now have to, I think, roll that back up. Okay. It is a real question as far as how could you get a repetitive gameplay mechanic, which unfortunately for video games you pretty much need some sort of repetitive gameplay mechanic in every game, at least one, if not several. How could you get a repetitive gameplay mechanic in a world like Myst. You could have a lockpicking element. It has been done, certainly, but certainly Skyrim, in the same way, had lockpicking mechanics. But is this fish or just leaves blowing in the wind? You could have some enemies. I think, honestly, in this case, though enemies would be a mistake. I think turning it into a first-person shooter, like so many other games, would be a mistake. You could have conversations, certainly. A game like this.
From me, you gotta pay the price, understand? Understand? You understand me? Oh, you understand now.
You can see how he's definitely crazy. I don't think there ever was really a real indication of how long the brothers were even trapped in these ages before we found them in the first game. So they could have been 19 years, probably closer to 10 years imprisoned, and frankly even a few months in what is effectively solitary confinement is enough to drive most crazy. So much on the table and yet so little that you can actually zoom in and look at. They really have just gone too far with the design. I think Uru's concept of potentially having a hide and seek, find energy elements would make some sense. If the Myst worlds effectively said if in entering each Myst world you had to, say, charge some device and go into different places and find floating orbs of energy, that would be a mini game element, certainly, that could give you a little bit more to do as far as a repetitive game mechanic. Bear traps and all kinds of other tools.
I'm the hunter. You're the hunted, not the other way around, you disappearing freak. You'll pay for this, my friend. You and every one of your stinking kind.
So you are definitely getting a narrative here. They're telling you a tale. I could see possibly even having a health. Like, if you potentially clicked on a bear trap and that took away some of your health, and then you had to find some way to regain health later. Otherwise you would stumble around and walk slower. That there might be an argument towards something like that. That's probably not the right system if you were going to reboot Myst. I think talking to people and side quests make a lot more sense. Just straight up fetch quests, wander around, do some flower picking. You could very easily embrace the concepts of being more scientific around these ages and looking around. So if there was a whole botany class of side quests where you have to collect plants and try to mix them together and try to do even an alchemy type mini game, that would make a lot of sense. If you had to do some mining to get minerals, that would certainly make some sense. if you had to do some hunting, like there's different sciences certainly. That if you approach the ages more like a explorer and a scientist, and less like a puzzle solver who's just trying to accomplish a short goal. Every Myst game, even if you didn't know what the goal is, the goal has been a short and simplistic one. It hasn't pushed you to fully engage with the world as much as you might want to. Yeah, I'm questioning whether this elevator can go higher. The idea here is where does the rope end? Seems like it kind of ends here. Yet there does seem like there's a click. Interesting how it dropped the box back down. Really feels like there's a third direction. Like, honestly, it seems like, though, that would really just have you go up a little bit if it could go up any more at all. So I'm just thinking that this elevator has no more gimmicks to it. And I'm thinking that maybe there was supposed to be a more obvious spring. You can see a lot of this stuff is just like really, really rusted and dark. I'm gonna very quickly go this way, and that does fall down as soon as you walk off of it. We'll just look around the edges of this elevator to see if there's anything else. I don't think there is. And the fact that the visions did not follow Yisha this way implies to me that this is very much possibly the past, as it were, not the present of what had happened. So this could have been 10 years ago. And it's very easy for a rock to show you intense memories, and that lead to you believing one thing that's not currently true. Does look like there's another way up. That's the way we came originally. Let's go this way first. There was that whole Serenia age, by the way, and the person who gave the necklace in the first place, so that could be the surprise bad guy, as far as, or bad girl in that case. Anya may be the bad guy. But, yeah. I definitely was not expecting that, and that seems to really violate the idea of a Myst game, that you would have this action sequence and that you would be bumped and somehow then glide. I frankly half suspect that this is a direct reaction to perhaps complaints that once existed in the previous games where the animals were not really threats or interactable when they probably should have been threats. Like, I feel like I actually am in danger of dying here, even though I probably am not. So you have this like spiky tree. You have a path here. And a path here. We started here. And I was trying to look at that roof canopy. This really is just a nightmare also of just not being able to map this out. A modern version of this game would almost certainly have a mini map of some sort. Yeah. And this is getting into a level of depth that's even bigger than Riven. Even if these are just potentially circles that wrap around. So, potentially chase the monkey. Like, there could be things you climb under, or there could be things you're supposed to climb up. There could be all kinds of things you click on. Although, honestly, I think this may be just a very large maze that either you're supposed to listen to the audio or you're supposed to follow the monkeys. And this may be more around the idea of just listening to audio or wandering around. There is a real question, certainly, as far as are we 100% guaranteed to get whatever thing we're looking for, which we don't really know what we're looking for. That's the canopy I was trying to look at. Are we guaranteed to get the thing we're looking for before we leave? I mean, this is just the same cutscene, but it perhaps shows you that items do seem to get imbued with magical energy. The monkey was not afraid of you. The monkey's afraid of the wild beast, which we'll just call it a cougar for lack of a better term. And I do think this is probably a figure 8 type puzzle. I think that there's only maybe 4 or 5 things. The photography in this game is kind of great. I just kind of wish it was more of a mini game where you were either getting like Pokemon Snap like points for taking photographs, or if that was perhaps just your job in the Myst game is to travel around and take photographs. Let's just go towards these creatures. I'm not sure either one of these. Like, it's like 3 of them all at the same time. At a certain level, that is just a cycle of life, and I guess, well, the cougar is distracted eating the other one. We will go here. So clearly they build some stuff, but it's not like they have advanced technology or anything. I'm surprised he even has a shiny axe he was able to find to chop down a tree. But yeah. The only real advantage, I would say, that the HS family has interesting. I'm about to fall asleep too, apparently. Yeah, the only real advantage that the HS family seem to have is that they understand the crystals and the magic of linking books. If they didn't understand that, if they didn't have that, they would be basically humans just living on Earth doing irregular things. And this is a journey that seems to have just led to a dead end. I don't know if this thing isn't just gonna sleep forever until it dies. But I can't do anything with it either. Like,
Don't like it, do you, my friend? Ha ha! Makes you sick. Spew your guts out. I know. So let's see what happens when you Get a high caloric dose of it from the tip of my spear!
So, by default, I think these plants just make the animals sick. But it does. So we also see another one of his kills. Which, that would make a lot of sense, frankly. If I'm here acting as judge, trying to determine whether or not the brother has reformed or not, and I was supposed to be taking very specific pictures of all of his kills and proving that actually no, he hasn't been reformed at all, then yeah, that would be interesting. There we can see this bird also eats off of this carcass, dead animal. You definitely could see in a modern game them telling you have 5 pieces of evidence to collect. If you found 5 pieces, then you might have a twist where there's somebody is honking the horn at the prison. I don't know how to get out of here though and get back to it. Unless that's just music. I think that might be Yisha. Or that might be someone else. It might be Cirrus. Notice how you just get audio in a lot of these. At a certain level, though, some people are just not going to care about animal cruelty that much. Like, the argument here isn't that he's not crazy. The argument is he, does he deserve to be trapped on this planet in this age that probably drove him as even more crazy. Okay. Again, a Myst game really feels like it should let you do whatever you want to do and wander around wherever you want to wander around. So it's potentially weird to have the to have the game summon you to an area, and I imagine a lot of people wouldn't recognize that. Oh, this really would have worked as a very good game system to say there are just 100 hidden objects, points of interest that you were supposed to take pictures of, and each point of interest found gave you a higher score, and different scores maybe even gives you a different ending, although I'm still not 100% sold on the idea of that being a good idea to have multiple endings in more of a story-driven experience like this. So down we go. This should take us back to this location. And I don't see anyone here. That definitely was the sound. But there's nobody here. And I don't think I could have really moved that fast. This path may be the quick exit, and it seems like our goal is definitely to get to the hunting tower. Yeah, so a modern version of this game, and I'm definitely looking at this from the concept of, yes, I do want more Myst, even though Cyan is working on a new game that's not in the Myst universe that looks very much like a Myst game, but so was Abduction, and Abduction itself is labeled as from the creators of Myst, and then is sort of Myst-like, but then doesn't have the linking books element, and without the linking books as a concept, it doesn't quite feel like Myst. Also, Abduction doesn't really, I think, have as many puzzles as it probably should, or as much backstory as it probably should. You're not going to be able to just jump forward. It does look like in some point in the forest is this hunting shack. Does look like that's right there. But this might be a different forest than the forest we were just in. There's nowhere higher to go. This really does just look like the point here was to do that. And see, it certainly would be nice. Yeah, maybe we're just hearing the horn from the ambient music. It'd be nice if you could take a picture and then it would at least mark it on the map. And map management could be another mini game, certainly, that you could implement. Or mini game element. But yeah, if somebody let me take control of the Myst series, I would rebuild it, have quest givers and fetch quests, lock-picking mini-games, points of interest with a cameras that when you take a picture of certain items would automatically mark it on the map. You'd have a fairly interactable map where you could put several different symbols on it to mark different things off. And by adding all of those elements, I think you bring it closer towards, in complexity, towards a modern game. Also, that frees you up somewhat to not just try to throw the most difficult puzzles you can think of. While there definitely are people who would really just want Myst puzzles to get more and more difficult, you're going to have diminishing return with that. I think Abduction suffers somewhat because it does really dumb down the puzzles a little too much, and then maybe the last puzzle or the main puzzle is a little too complicated. This isn't an audio puzzle where you're just going to get all of the ambient noise of animals to go away. And there's really just no landmarks to navigate yourself by. And really, I'm just having a vacation. Just a nice, take a lot of pictures vacation experience. It would be helpful, certainly, if the mouse cursor indicated with big arrows which different directions you could go. I think we may have found an entrance to the sudden jungle.
Hear this? You hear it? Well, just try and get past this gate now, you thieving Karnaks!
Ain't no way they'll figure out which holes to put the hammers in.
So it seems, here you can see it's just like totally nothing. If there was a sign here or if there was anything written here, it's long since gone. Right. So he gated off a section. And it sure does feel like there's supposed to be a puzzle here. Just scan all the pixels, and either there's no power and there's supposed to be power and there's actually something electric, which this would be very much a world of primal things, not electric things.
Hear this?
Right.
You hear it? Well, just try
You
and
can
get past this gate
use
now,
this
you thieving
multiple
Karnaks!
times, but then you can't exit
No
or
way
skip
they'll figure out which
if you
holes to put the
accidentally
hammers
click
in.
on it. So he's talking about holes and hammers. I do not see any holes or hammers. I can go that way. And this may be a brightness issue, certainly. I can go that way. But this definitely looks like a gate. Alright, well, let's go this way. We'll see. There's... Now, I think we came this way. I almost feel like this is randomized. Now, we're just in going... We went the wrong way. We were here. Let's go this way, I guess. That's here. Wow, you're so close and yet still very far away, potentially. And that definitely highlights the danger of putting something interesting somewhere and then it not actually being interactable. Alright, we've made it to a swamp area. There was kind of a swamp area in the first Myst game also. You see slight differences here between different types of creatures. Some stay fairly still so you can take their picture, and some move around. Which, in all fairness, I think that's not particularly too different from real world animals. You're just hearing the howls and the seeing the hoof prints of characters. So my prediction at this point would be there's going to be a puzzle where we have to match the howls and the sounds of the animals, of four to five different animals, in some kind of puzzle, which that's not too different from Riven. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if I'll just use a walkthrough to get through that. Since you have infinite number of space, for modern computers would have infinite amounts of space, taking all these pictures means nothing.
Gracious. Noble. Cautious. Stupid. Stupidity can be a virtue, can't it?
So now when he built this totem, it sounds like he is much kinder about the animal and less hateful towards the animal. And so he's chopping down these trees and building these totems, maybe just to keep himself busy, maybe for some other reason. That looks like that was the area we were at before. And they seem to like to put animals in your way so that you have to poke them. And it doesn't seem like when you poke them they actually are being hurt or anything. You're not pushing them or punching them, you're just softly tapping them by the likes of it seems. Basically petting them. And here we are getting a different sound effect that definitely feels more like a Myst puzzle. So you can hear, oh, you've made it, you've reached the Myst part of the Myst game instead of the just general vacationing through a desert, through a forest and taking pictures.
Don't care how nimble-fingered they are. They're not gonna get in when I'm away.
So he's definitely seemingly trying to keep the creatures out. Okay. So pull that down. And looks like we've got a real puzzle here. Okay. So in part, it's broken. And in part, I'm too far away from the screen to really be able to tell what carving each animal here is supposed to represent. So, the puzzle, which I speculated about, is here. The solution would have been to wander around and potentially find different symbols, which we've seen only 2 of. So you'd find this, or most players would almost certainly find this, and then be doomed to have to wander around and find all the solutions. Of course, we have modern day technology such as the internet with walkthroughs that can just tell me the solution. And as I am scrolling down this walkthrough, there is kind of a lot. Apparently there's a whole there's a whole bunch of things I have yet to see. So I've just missed stuff. Because there is a chart that shows us the symbol, and the chart really would tell us the solution. We don't have it. Let's see. And see, I'm scrolling through this. Yeah, the walkthrough really says we should have found about 3 totems by this point. And we haven't. Puzzle here is to get the little hammers onto the white squares, but outside the 3 sliders. I don't even know what that means. Let's do it wrong at least once. Okay. You would think that maybe it would just be a puzzle of matching that maybe it would just be a puzzle of matching the pattern in the background. Okay. Don't even understand this system. Like, that's to check the right one, certainly. But seems like the code would be the only thing you're checking for, so brute forcing this would be fairly hard. Slider. Left or right? Where's the slider? I don't see a slider. Oh, the instructions I was looking at literally was for a different puzzle. So that explains that. Alright. So, the southern forest for bridge controls. With all the totem symbols noted, it is a moment's work to set the controls, pull the lever again and lift the shafts so the symbols match the order of the food chain, the sea monster, the Camudile, the Mangri, the Karnak, and the Zephyri. So you're supposed to have figured out the food chain. Since the fourth control is broken, you have to use the third or fifth shaft to work out how high it should be. And yes, with higher resolution and with monitors and with the screen much closer to my eyes, I would have been able to deal with the totems a lot more. But as it is, I cannot tell which of these totems is supposed to represent which, if they are supposed to represent anything at all. It might be a case that each of these totems is the exact same symbol and it is just a generic hand grip or shape, and the idea is to match the symbols on the food chain. That might be the case. Also. So then we just have this broken one. And we'll move this down. I think that was more than one. It's supposed to be just right above this. Well, that worked. But it didn't go. I guess I didn't pull it far enough. Inherently, I have missed some content and skipped some content there. Interesting that it has me looking downward after that. And I may just never get around to finding all the content. And yeah, that hurts me as the player as much as anything else, but that is not an unrealistic experience either. Very few players are going to put up with the frustration of finding a puzzle and then not being able to brute force it and not being able and really understanding what the solution really is. Even if you'd seen no totems and made it to this spot, you'd be completely confused. If you'd just seen a couple of totems, you'd be still confused because you have to have the whole understanding that it represents the food chain, and all of those hints are just all throughout the world. At a certain level, the truth is people don't want what the Myst series offered quite the way it's offered. in the way it's done. People want the feeling of playing a Myst game, but being able to solve it. They want hints. They want help. They want it to feel like an open world while being more of a linear experience, really. Let's see. My assumption here is that this is the evolution of the brother, in that he has built himself a house and isn't just taking emergency shelter in the boat, and he seems to be calmer and more craftsman-like, more capable.
Please. I can't take it anymore. It's too late. It's too late. They're all dead. All of them.
So, who's all dead, we don't know, but that seems more regretful and less psychotic hunter-killer. Let's get a full story here. And so you can see even this book seems to be newer.
Not sure I can do this. Pen feels awkward. Keeps slipping. Been so long since I used one. But what else is there? What else to do? Went back to rec today. First time since moving into house. Found his bones exactly how I left them. Except clean now. Bleached white by the sea. How many times have I replayed it since then? Sun sinking into the waves. Tip of my spear gleaming wet with the poison. See myself crouching low near the rock, so sure he will come because of his mate. Sometimes in my head, it happens different. Poison gets diluted, or one of her ropes snaps and breaks. He rears back, spear misses. Somehow they both get away. And we all get one more day worth living for. Reset traps today. Swamp water corroded one of them. Forced to go to depot to fix. Coming back, saw a Commodile take down a Zephyr. Moved with such precision, not a single gesture wasted. Zephyr probably didn't feel a thing. It's not what I expected, living lakeside. It's calmer, not as windy. But rain still beats down like in the wreck, and it's hot. Still hot. Only real difference is the screams. A lot closer now, on all sides. Starting to get on my nerves. Can't sleep. Too many screams. And when I close my eyes, the things I see, the faces. My God, Cirrus, did we really kill so many? Added it up, best I could. 8 years. 3 since I killed the last Serpati. Keep thinking I should do something for him. Place some kind of tribute next to the bones. Totem pole, maybe. God knows. Carving it would keep me busy for a while. Maybe I can make one for each of them. What's the use? What's the use? Can't go on like this. can't think.
So this is a great example of them
The real difference is the screams. A lot closer
them
now.
telling you information after you were supposed to have already
Starting to
figured
kill
it
my
out.
nerves.
So it seems like they
Can't sleep.
killed a lot more
Too
people
many screams.
before
And when I
they
close my eyes,
got trapped in
things that I see,
Spire.
the faces.
And I do vaguely recall that was the case, but you
God,
never saw
Sir,
the corpses of those
did we
people
really
in the
kill
different
so
ages.
many?
So it's not just like they were
I ended up best I could.
they betrayed
8
their
years.
father.
3 since I killed the
It
last Serpati.
seems like they
Keep
probably
thinking I should
killed
do something for him.
humans also.
Play some kind of tribute next to the bones.
And that's
Totem
just a
pole,
failing
maybe.
of Myst
God
1
knows.
and Myst 1 being kind of a
Carving it will keep me
bad
busy for a while.
foundation for the sequels to Myst,
Maybe
because
I
they
can
never
make
really
one for each of them.
planned, I'm sure, for any sequels.
What's
So
the use? What's the use?
you definitely, if you were
One
going
like
to
this
remake Myst
can't
1,
think.
which they've done so many times, they've been very hands-off on depicting the events of the story in different ways, or
To do something.
improving
Keep my mind
or
off the
expanding
dreams.
on the
Maybe
events of the
Go south
story.
for a few days. Sleep outside.
My God, Father. Did it have to be the same? 2 weeks working my way through the South Jungle, and for what? More of the same. More of the same empty nothingness. Can't take it anymore. Can't live like this. Karnax got in while I was away. Forgot how agile they are. Braver, too, when they're hunting in groups. Been breeding like mad ever since I killed their primary predator. Should probably do something about that. But maybe I can redesign one end of the bridge. Create some kind of lock to keep them out. Went back to the South Jungle today, hoping I'd missed something. Saw a group of mangries playing under their nests. Thought about replenishing supplies, but couldn't do it. They just looked too peaceful. Eventually turned to go and spied one of them watching me. Their lookout, I suppose. Wonder how long he knew I was there. Ink supply getting low. Watering it down, but might try to make more. The way the channelwood tree dwellers once taught me. Found some petals in the South Jungle that might work for the ink. Picked a few to take back as an experiment. While picking them, I noticed something odd about the mangries. In the north, they all scatter as soon as they spot me, but the South tribe only looks curious. Must be because I never hunted them.
So Channelwood was one of the ages in the first game.
New ink
And those were the
seems
people
okay.
he would have killed, I imagine.
Would prefer a better color, though. I'll head back to the South Jungle in the morning, see if I can find different varieties. I don't believe it. Went back to gather more petals, and found a bunch of them already picked. They were lying in a pile where I'd been working. Mangries must have done it. Imitating me? Spent most of the morning in the watchtower trying to observe from a distance. Find out how they act when I'm not there. Couldn't see much, though. Trees are too thick. Would like to get closer somehow. I suppose I could build another post, but it'd have to be different this time. Not a lot left I can take from the wreck. Kinda like the idea of going all natural.
So I guess that's our goal.
Heck did Savidro's people do it? Been weaving support branches all day, and my arms and chest muscles are killing me. Mangries sure got a kick out of watching, though. One of them even stopped playing long enough to come over and give me advice. At least that's how it seemed. Wouldn't stop chirruping at me. Made me want to rig up another sound system, see if I can try and talk back. can't be. It can't. This evening, I was sketching in the post, trying to get their expressions right. Mangries were playing that game they like to play, fruit tossing. Ball must have rolled under the post. All of a sudden I heard this cry I'd never heard before. Sequence of drawn-out highs and lows. Looked up and found all of them looking at me, pointing at the ball and making that sound. Like they were calling a name. My name. They've given me a name. What am I supposed to do with this, Father? What am I supposed to do?
And I think that's the end. Although we can't turn the page any further. And the game kind of locks up as it zooms out of the books. It's quite the load, actually. Yeah, we're definitely getting evidence that he's been through a lot, being prisoner here. But we're also definitely getting evidence that he straight up murdered with his brother a lot of people. Inherently, I think the father is to blame. He taught his kids that these ages were effectively playgrounds with no consequences, and that the people in it were nothing more than playthings. And so it's no surprise that they broke their toys at some level and did not really have any respect for life. I'm not even sure HS now has that much respect for life. Here we have a telescope, which being able to make a telescope or harvest a telescope from the wreck is quite the accomplishment. But I seriously question whether there's even something here we are supposed to see, or if this isn't just an experiment in another kind of gameplay mechanic toy, which there were definitely some of those in Myst, where there were devices you could play with that did not connect towards actually solving a puzzle. That might have been just leftover content. This very well may be another example of that, where it was leftover content. Also not seeing Yisha, so it'd be kind of crazy to believe that he made it, that she made it all the way here. And then here we have a painting. Yeah, perhaps padded rooms and insane asylums might be a little bit more limiting than an open age as a prison. It does really go to show that given access to resources and a open environment full of animals and plants that you could use as resources, you can potentially make a nice living for yourself, whereas other people would have given up and lived in a cave and been miserable.
See me now, brother. Mixing up inks like the tree dwellers in Channelwood taught us. Remember that? Remember?
A lot of this is just member berries, as it were. Remember that. Remember this from the first game. Instead of going off in particularly different directions. Like, there are definitely some surprising directions you could have gone with a Myst game. That would have been surprising. And here they've even carved a wind chime. But it all seems to be either a very specific type of steampunk mechanical in its design, or it seems to be a very much natural wooden design. And it's definitely worth mentioning that capturing an animal's mate, tying it down, and then using the screams for help as a way to attract and hunt the creature is a particularly cruel way to do that. I'm assuming that that species was the last of the species, and so he drastically did change the ecosystem by killing the primary apex predator. I have to say, I don't think I even need to consider it any further. I'm fairly certain that having that big maze, having the maze in the forest was a mistake. Like, and arguably, I'd say most of the time there's a maze in a Myst game, it's probably a mistake. That's not something that I appreciate. It's a time waster. It's a frustration creator, and potentially it's a difficulty spike. Okay. So we've got a live action puzzle here, and we want to probably get them to throw. So small should be a lot, and then large should be a little, and medium should be a little. Alright. So it's a sound system. And I'm not doing it right. I think I just lucked into the right pattern. Alright, and that wasn't the right pattern. So once again, it's just easier to cheat. Let's see. It's just easier to cheat this puzzle than it is to do it legitimately. Arguably, there might have been several pictures here that I've missed. Apparently each of these mangries have a name. One is named One Ear, Rabbit Ears, Flathead, and Whitey. I don't know if that's the walkthrough giving them names. And it also is telling me to save the game. So let's actually do that. That's probably a great move to do. And frankly, at that point, we should probably just wrap up here since we've gone about 2 hours anyways. But yeah, suffice it to say, this is going to be quite the challenge to move the rabbits, move the characters around, the monkeys around, and eventually we're going to get the Camodile to fall into a pit. Yep. And yeah, there definitely is an entire lock mechanism that we've missed. It was at that gate, so I should go back to the gate and check that. But otherwise, maybe I've missed another observation tower somewhere. And I've definitely missed at least one totem. But otherwise, I think we're not getting too far away from what a average player's experience would be with this game. If this wasn't Myst, if this was any other kind of game, I wouldn't be cheating so much. But I know Myst as a series is fairly complicated and not worth getting that frustrated with or that hung up on. So it's better to get 90% of the intended experience and cheat than it is to get 50% of the experience because I rage quit halfway through the game. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.